Well, let's see. Hello all, I'm Kruis. I work as a SQL consultant at ATS Applied Tech Systems, and I'm usually the guy who people go to when they encounter SQL Server problems. Today, I'm going to talk about extended events. Extended events has been around for a long time, as you might have heard just before, but not a lot of people do really know them or use them. When consulting my clients, they still use a profiler or get other ways to retrieve their data. But yeah, extended events are added for a reason, and they are quite flexible, and they are still in development. They are still adding new items on it, as you can also see on this slide. The extended events has been added in SQL Server 2008, and it was built again from scratch when Microsoft built it. And they used a new event collection architecture, which was highly extensible. That's what they needed because, well, SQL Server evolved, Azure being added, etc. They wanted to add more events easily, so the user would have benefit from the new possibilities in there. And as you can see, it happened where in 2008, where it was introduced, only 253 events were possible to trace. In the current version, 2022, you almost have 2,500 events with all the new features added, like Azure Query Store, Intelligent Query Processing, etc. Extended events are designed for DBAs, performance analysts, developers, etc. To tune their query, or at least to gain insights in their performance, but also to track what is happening beneath SQL Server itself. In 2008, it was a hard adoption. There was no graphical user interface. Well, SQL Profiler had one. So therefore, the introduction didn't run very smoothly. When SQL Server 2012 was launched, a GUI was implemented in SQL Management Studio, which made it for the mortals like me, who doesn't like querying XML, a bit more better to do. Let's have a small look to extended events versus the profiler. And after that, let's set up an extended event and look into the data. So here I have a small list of differences. Perhaps there are more. And some are pretty nice. For example, I've added the GUI twice because before 2012, there wasn't a GUI anyway. But since there is a GUI for the extended events, you have lots of cool options like grouping, filtering, etc. And you can see differences in your grid and details. You can add columns when you need them, but you can hide them when you don't want to, etc. On the profiler, that option isn't there. Another very important thing is the overhead. Well, SQL Server Trace was built outside of the SQL Server engine and had to hook in. Much more overhead was there when you need to capture it. I had clients who had their production server down because, well, let's use our profiler trace on production and and they kept it on for too long, etc. So it was down. On SQL extended events, of course, you do have some overhead. Everything comes with a price, but I haven't seen anyone bringing production down on my SQL servers, at least not yet. There are some events who have some higher overhead than the others. For example, if you would like to have query plans, you will see some overhead, but it's up to you to make your trace as granular as possible. Another, what I think, good option for extended events is that it is for everybody to use. It is being done server side, it's being added there. And once you have the rights, you can use them, even if your colleague has built it. And especially for a junior or someone who doesn't use trace or extended events a lot, it can be hard to set one up efficiently. But when it's already in place, you don't have to create it again. You do need to start and stop it manually in most of the cases. At least stop it if you don't want to use it anymore. The next one, the events, I already told. Trace isn't being developed anymore. So we're stuck at the 180 events. And perhaps for some basic items, and you don't care about any other things mentioned here, you can still use it. But if you want the new events, like the ones named before, or Azure, etc., definitely use extended events. A cool feature also is the causality tracking. Causality tracking can be used to combine your data. For example, you have a stored procedure with different statements in it. You can relate those to each other. I will show more of that in a bit. This isn't possible in Profiler. The configuration, I prefer the syntax about extended events. I will show it in a minute, but I think it's less complex. However, Profiler also has two small benefits. The first one is to build in replay, which was in there. We don't have anything yet in extended events. And also to combine your data with the perf monitor. It's not available in extended events, at least not yet. And I think that is my last slide for now. So let's go to my SQL Management Studio. And we will look into how it works. For this demo, I will be using my on-premise version. As told, it's also included in Azure, also your database Azure. The syntax or GUI might, of course, differ. At least it will differ. But for the introduction, on-premise should be enough, I guess. When you log in your SQL Server, you have your databases, your security, etc., and your Object Explorer. On the left side, you have management. When you expand it, you have your extended events. Some extended events are on there by default. For example, your system health, which basically tracks the health of your system, deadlocks, and some other errors. It's in there by design. And also the other ones. We have an option to create our session ourselves by pressing the right mouse button, and we can use a wizard. Harry Potter comes in and do everything for you. No, the wizard isn't much of a wizard. It doesn't do any wizardy things, so I never use it, and I'm just going to use new session. A wizard should guide you through the process, where in this case it's just a little different GUI. In the first thing when we set up, we have some basic information we can fill in about our script, about our extended event. Example, the session name. Do we want to use a template? When do we want to start the session? And do we want to enable causality tracking? For example, when I say I would like to create my session, let's give it a good name, otherwise all my other scripts won't work later today. And I have here some templates. And in the templates, you can use some predefined templates, or you can load your own font files. I'm going to leave that one empty at this moment. Another cool option is the checkbox to start the event session at server startup. For example, you have an unexpected server or service restart. This event will automatically start up again when you're back online. The second one is when I press OK, it starts, and your Watch Live data will open your graphical user interface to show the results of your screen. I just talked about the causality tracking, and you can enable it by just checking on this checkbox. Let's do that one for now. And on the left side, we have 3 more parts where we would like to show some data. In the first one is events. Let me get it a little bit larger. These are all the events which we can choose from to create our extended events on. And we can scroll to the list. Microsoft categorize them. You have the possibility to filter on this here, and also the packages. You can search your events, and you can search by default only on the name. So, for example, completed, I can search for it. But I can also search for including the descriptions, event fields, or in everything, depending on what you need. For now, let's add some RPC completed, batch completed. By just double clicking it or pressing the button to the right, you will see what will happen. Statement completed. You can also add multiple. Small description is being here below, like what you have added. Then you might think, okay, well, we've selected the events, we're done now. No, we need to go to configure, because configure is the place where we make our extended event as small as possible to reduce the amount of overhead even more. So here we have some actions, which loads by default. And actions you can see as fetch also this information when I retrieve my data. Some items are being retrieved by default. It depends a little bit on what event you have selected. For example, not every event will have the same actions or information you might want to retrieve or event fields you get back by default. So you have the possibility to add some information. The way you can do it is just by pressing the checkbox, and you can see on the Harry Potter sign, it has our one, so I have one additional action configured. If I would like to do it for all of them, I just can multi-select it and enable it for all of them. Some which might come in handy are the client host name, like who is running this query, perhaps your session ID, your username, your query text, well, whatever you might need for your analysis. Let's go to the last one first, because the action hooks in some extra data. And on event fields, here we can see the other information, which is in our trace by default. So the result, is it an okay or not okay, abort, an error, what was the row count, did we do any writes or reads, how long did it take, and about the how long did it take, in this case it's microseconds, but it may differ between the events. Well, I think profile was in milliseconds, where 1000 is a second. Here a million is a second. So the numbers might be higher, but it's more in detail. And here you have the possibility to add additional fields. For example, when we're in the statement completed in a stored procedure event, we also have the option to add an object name. We do have the object ID. We might use that one to retrieve the stored procedure which used this statement, or where this statement was being executed in, or we just might want to include it in our trace. So those are these things. The next very important thing is your filter. As told, well, profiler was built outside the SQL Server engine, extended events is built in it, and therefore it can filter much more efficient. So profiler needed to fetch all the data and then got time to filter. Our extended event has the possibility to filter on your server side, and therefore your overhead is being very less than it. However, you need to define for yourself what your filter might be. For example, I would like to trace my queries who took longer than 3 seconds. Okay, well, create a filter on queries who have a duration longer than 3 seconds. So for example, like this. In this case, the filter icon has also been added on the left side, so you know there are filters on it. You might also want to do it on the multiple ones here, just by it, but then you erasing your skinning. Perhaps because of the different duration, but let's also think. So now we also have a filter setup. You might even want to include more, like my database where it's being executed in, or I'm profiling or tracing a specific stored procedure. Then you might want to filter on that one. A specific user, because you have one horrible user which keeps on doing bad queries and you want to have some proof, you can use this dashboard. That's, I think, what I want to tell about the events for now. Let's go to the next one. We have data storage. SQL Server events provides different targets where we can put the data in. We have the E2E classic sync target, event counter, event file, histogram, pair matching, and ring buffer. The event file wasn't available in the very first version of the extended events, but if you're on any supported SQL Server version, you have the possibility right now. The other ones, I don't get in depth too much right now, but you can count, for example, how many times has an event been triggered, so without any additional data. Or you can use a histogram, you can do some pair matching, like, okay, I have a statement started and a statement completed, which are started but aren't completed, so which are still running, what are problems with that. You can use those. In this demo, I will use the event file. Because the event file is just a file on disk, where you can specify your name on the server, you can specify your maximum file size, which on especially busy servers and your extended event has to do a lot of work. Your trace might get too big to read. You can maximize your file, and you can even say, I would like to have a maximum number of 5 files, and I enable file rollover. So when the last one is full, it will start filling up the first one again. And you can specify it in gigs or megabytes. So make it 500 MB. For the file name, I also have the possibility to specify the location where I want to do my trace to. The other items do also have specific options. For example, your ring buffer, how many do you want to keep? Or per event, how many do you want to use? For your classic synchronous target, I've never used it, but you can use it. Some specific information for your histogram. Where do you want to filter on? Do you want to have some buckets, etc.? You can just play with them if you want to. And on advanced, we have some additional information. I can't remember the last time I needed to change anything here. I think one may be not handy to do, the no event loss. Perhaps your queries will fail if your trace doesn't work. So that's, I don't think, what you want. And now I have configured my extended event. I have two possible options. I can create script, and when I press it, SQL Management Studio will just create a script for me. Or to do for now, let's just press OK. On the left side, we see our session has been added, and because of the icon here, we know it's disabled. Where those three are running, this one isn't. And when I want to enable it, I just press my right mouse button and I press Start Session, which starts collecting the data. I still have the possibility to go again back to properties and change things on the fly. For example, adding some other storage, adding a new filter. So you have the possibility to change those things. When I want to stop it again, because I've did my trace, I've done my analysis, I can just stop my session again. When not writing to a durable location, for example, like I do in the event file, your data will be lost after stopping your session. So you won't have that anymore. But if you want to see some more historical information, you can go to the results. But let's start the session. Let's see if I have some queries running. Well, looks like I don't, so let's spin her up. And I can expand it. And here I have my different targets where I have written to. In my case, only the event file. When I double click it, I can see the contents of it. And here I can see already 3,625 events already starting this morning because it reads from file, and the current ones also being added here. I also have the same option by going to the right mouse button and go Watch Live Data. Watch Live Data will not include any historical data. So when I open it and my query runs, I can see some items expanding here. And this is pretty nice. I can stop it. However, it will only stop our data feed. It won't stop your extended event. So it will still keep loading data in your target, but it won't show it on screen. And in the GUI, we have some additional options here. So I will stop my data feed for now. And let's see what is happening behind here. What do we see? We have an RPC completed at a specific time stamp. And in our key value or field value display below, we can see the information we wanted to see. We wanted to see our duration. How many logical reads do we do? What is the statement we are trying to execute? How many rows did we result? Was the result okay, or was it aborted, etc. But yeah, going through these one by one, finding your specific information you need, yeah, I doubt that's pretty nice to do. You would like to have them in your grid, so you can go by, or you can filter on it, or at least can see the results of your screen. There are two ways to do it. Let's first do the easy one. When we are in the fields below, and for example, I would like to filter on my results, I can press the right mouse button and say Show Column in Table. And then I can see all results. I would like to include the logical reads and duration also. That's pretty cool. But what's also very nice is we can do choose columns, and we can add items in there. For example, the GUID, the sequence, etc. Another nice one is the merged columns. We can add a new column. I see my item didn't work well very exclude here. Let me move this one, I think. No, I don't have any filters, but well, let's see what happens. Populate data, fetch new data again. I have my fields, it's empty again, so it will start loading. There it is, 3 items. Too bad my trace, or my trace does not, but my loading of the data isn't. But we can merge columns. So for example, if I have a batch completed and a statement completed, only one of them is being used. And when we are going to merge columns, for example, I have my statements completed here, and I also am going to do an own query ourselves. This one also should pop up now. We have the possibility to add merged columns. It will be first come, first serve. So if I am going to combine 2 fields, the first one is being the first one to fill, and when we add another one, that won't be filled. I don't have my batch here, so I will do a host name for this moment. And here we can see some things happening. Another one I didn't include in my grid now is the causality tracking. Let me stop my feed for this moment. There it is. Oh, and I see what happened. I added some. Let me change my session for now. Let's go to my events to configure, and then that's for filter for now, because I like to bring my production machine down. It's just on production, nothing happens. So I can see also my foster statement. So when I start doing this again, I am also going to see my select statement. Here it is, my SQL batch completed. And it did get an error. Oh, I did get an error. I made a typo. So you can see all those kind of information also in your trace. However, lots of data is coming in here now. So for now, let's stop it. Go back to the column. We had a statement and we had a batch text. There it is. So when I had a SQL batch completed, let's copy this one up a little bit. I don't have any statement, but I do have batch text. And in some other ways, I do have the statement, but I don't have the batch text. So here is the possibility to show the same kind of data in the same column. We talked about causality tracking. In this case, what I'm doing are some items. We have a stored procedure, which I run a select statement, and I run another stored procedure. We should see them in our trace. Let me scroll down a little bit. Here we have an execute statement, which is being done. Execute, our select statement, and another execute. And in our last column I've added now, we do see an activity GUID. And this one relates to the causality tracking. So let's try, what does it mean? I can filter on columns just by pressing the mouse button, filter by this column, and I open a filter. I can use some time filters, I can add some manual things. For now, I just want to see everything what was related to our same GUID. Because each event gets a GUID, and when it has a related one, they have the same one. So in this case, we have our RPC completed. It's the full query. And our query was doing first a reset connection. It has a statement select. In this case, the select users provide my parameters for the other ones. It did the first stored procedure. It did my select. It did another select statement, which is in this stored procedure. So you can see exactly what is happening in your stored procedures, when did it happen, and what took most of your time. Because in this case, our full statement took almost or a little bit more than 5 seconds, where this part was almost half of the time, and this part was the other one, which took a long time. So when you're going to optimize these problems, your performance problem, you don't have to focus on at least those parts. So that's a pretty cool feature there. Filter. But we have the option to filter on many more. We can filter on your query, on your badge, your host name, etc. However, keep in mind, everything what you already filter on your session itself is even better because it will have less overhead. Another option we have in our GUI is grouping and aggregating. Let me clear all filters for now, so we see everything again. And we've seen an error. We have null results because, for example, we have our statement completed, which doesn't have the result, or the RPC completed. And let's group by our result. Where is it? Here it is. And then we can see the numbers, and we can see the details on it, and we can expand on it. You are still able to sort by on your screen. So, for example, I would like to have the result nulls by logical weights, ascending, descending, duration, etc. I haven't seen this possible in Profiler yet, but I'm happy to learn. Another cool feature is your aggregation. We have 79 results, but I would like to have our average duration. And I would like to sort by that descending. And then you'll get some extra information in your screen over there. So those are pretty cool features. Let's remove our grouping for now. There it is. So we also had our historical data. This was our live data. And when I double click on our event file, it opens it again. And bummer, we still have only name and timestamp, and it didn't remember our live data really. Yeah, I was worried about it because my juniors don't like to set up, and nobody likes to do its work double. It does remember it for the second time you open your same target, including your same machine. But there's also an option on extended events you have here. And here you can go to display settings and you can save your display settings. So let's say data attended. And here I'm going to recently opened it. And here it immediately adds my information I also have configured here. This is just a file being saved on disk, so you are able to distribute this in your organization. Like, hey, this is some cool way to see your data. And here you can see lots more happening since my SQL Server startup, because I didn't have any filters on it. Yeah, I think this is what I wanted to show for the GUI itself. So let's go to this one. We talked about the GUI, and I've shown you how to create it in the GUI and how to show your data. But perhaps you would like to use your sessions you are creating on another server. We've seen the way you can script it while you are going to create it. You can also type it yourself. I'm more of a lazy person. When I've created it, I just script it just by pressing the script session, create to, and copy it to the other one. But looking at the syntax ain't that hard. At first, where are we going to create our session and what are we going to name it? Sounds fair enough. What event do we want? And do we want some extra information? What action are we going to retrieve, for example, the client host name. We've added that action. And what are we going to filter? And for each event, you have your own part in the script. So if you say, I would like to have another event like error reported, error log written, Azure query store, whatever you would like to track, you can do that here. Another part what you need to do is say, what is your target? I'm going to write, in this case, to my event file. My event name will be named this. I'm going to have a maximum file size of this. And of course, the cool one, the track causality is on to have your causality tracking enabled. Okay, I'm having my session running. Here's my script. You can also enable or disable it just by doing some SQL syntax, alter event session, stop or start. Your Azure syntax will be a little bit different here. Here we can see it has been stopped now. When we enable it and we refresh it, it's online again. Now we also have the option to retrieve the data from XML. There are some genius guys who create extended events on the fly, retrieve data from it. It's a pretty cool script. Like it's SP human events from Eric Darling, and if you don't like fetching into your extended events or retrieving the XML, it can be a pretty cool start to at least see with extended event without the overhead of any other tool what is happening on your server and who is doing what. For now, I will just focus on the event we have created, and we can just read it by using the file, the target read file. And in this case, I sometimes forgot the star. When we created the session, we gave in the name my session, but SQL will still expand your name with a total random number. Perhaps I have it over here in my script. No, I don't have it anymore. Perhaps it's on this one. So don't forget the asterisks. And here we can run our query. And here we can see what is happening. So we have our event data, which is the XML part. We have what is it doing? In this case, in what file am I loading into, and when was it happening? Click on this one, and in here we have the results of one event. Like what have we done? We have done an alter. Who does it? The activity, causality tracking, etc. All our information. So yeah, as it's just plain old XML, we are able to query it some more. So for example, let's make it more workable. Let's drop our table if needed. Let's run our script to include the data in our temporary table so we don't have to wait each time. Perhaps I should have pressed that before I started to talk to wait some time back. It runs now, I think, for 1517. 7,000 events are in there. And then we have the possibility, don't include our drop table, to see what is happening. So in this case, we have a time because we have the timestamp in our XML. We have the batch text, which was a specific event data, as we also have seen in the normal GUI. We have our statement. If I would have collected it, but we have disabled that action, or at least it was disabled by default, so we haven't enabled it, I would also have gotten SPID. How long did it take? And in this case, I already included our duration description. It's in this case the left join, and that's because sometimes it's micro and sometimes it's milliseconds based on what event you are trying to find. So that is how this works, how you can retrieve your data from a file. Yeah, for the people still working on SQL Server 2008 and willing to do your extended events, Okay, to be honest, SQL 2008, I don't use my extended events often, but most of my clients already upgraded. But there are still some stubborn old customers who don't want to invest at all and would like to pay you for keeping their old service up and running. You are able to use your extended event also there. However, as told before, the file storage or your file target wasn't included in there yet. So in that case, you have to query your data from the ring buffer or from memory. So in this case, I have to change my session because I didn't include my ring buffer yet, because that was only the first bucket. Let's go to data storage. Let's go to ring buffer. It's okay for me. Let's change it. It's still running. Nice. Then let's see if there is already data in it. And there it is. We have data. And also here we have the same kind of information. We have an XML with our event, with our data, with the key values about their content, per value, what have we done, and also here our activity ID for your causality tracking. So here we do have the option that was brought again, and also here we can include it in our temporary table. This one was a bit faster than the other one. I hope. No, it wasn't. Well, let's keep that on running. And after that, we have the same kind of select statement as we had before. There it is. And let's get our select statement. You see one little difference because your object name is in the event data here, where in the other one, the object name was in our select statement. So it's a little bit different over there, but it still need to extract, and let me stop my query. You do have some results, so it's good for now. And also here we can see our statement batches, etc. Kind of information again. So this is how you can retrieve your data and do some analysis for it on your extended events. Are there any questions so far in the chat? No, not great. I think this is the basics of the session itself. I do have a GitHub page where I have some additional scripts. For example, the ones I use sometimes in my environment for fetching slow queries, errors, etc. Let's navigate to that. For now, it's just open. I will, it's being recorded, so you can always loop these back, and I'm going to add some more on it later. There are some interesting extended events. For example, your blocked process, like what query is being done. Most of the time it's being related to some deadlocks. So in this case, we have an event. Let me copy it because formatting doesn't look very nice here. So here we have the blocked process report. You need to configure a little bit in SQL Server for the threshold to be done, which is being minimum, I think, is 5. Yes, the minimum was 5. You can do it by this. And when a process is being blocked for over 5 seconds, it will be included in your event. So this is this one, what's my admin, what's my host name, what's my database, and also my deadlock report, because in my experience, when I have lots of blocking, I might also have some deadlocks which might relate to each other. So you might want to use it, and I most of the time use my file name. I'm not full-time for each of my customers, so I would like to have it to be able to see it back on a later period of time. Then we have the query anti-patterns, and this is something I haven't used a lot in production yet, because this is one which is only available since SQL Server 2022. There are some query anti-patterns, for example, implicit casting, well, etc. And some of them can be traced by using this event. So that can be a good game changer when finding your problem queries on a SQL Server. Also, you here see the query plan, your SQL itself, which application does it do. For your application app name, don't forget to include your application name part in your connection screen. It will save lives. It will make your DBAs happy. Another one, we already created this one while doing the demo. I'm using a lot. What are queries and or statements longer than 3 seconds? I do have customers who would like to have this threshold less than 3 seconds. And some, when it's a horrible server at first, I'm starting with the larger ones, but at least it will give you some data. If you are looking for your timeout queries, then don't use this one, include on 30 seconds, but look for abort as a result, because the result will be abort when .NET cancels your query, or when you do it yourself, when you are using your SQL Management Studio, you have your select statement and you were like, I'm not going to wait 5 extra more minutes, and you press cancel. And then it will also have the state aborted. So you better can filter on this one. Oh, I haven't filled this one, and I did fill this one. It's like I'm having a problem with a specific stored procedure or function, and then you can use your model start. Like, what is happening for this specific item? You can combine, of course, some of these items, or at least events, including your causality tracking, like, okay, I do have this stored procedure, but what is my slow statement in it, etc. So you can combine those events to retrieve the data you need. And in this case, it's my where statement. This is very the basics. It isn't granular at all. So when I have a stored procedure with the same name on different databases, it will fetch them all. So you might want to include your database name or database ID as an extra filter. And those are the scripts I do have over there now. So I think I am through my presentation. So, but I had some time for questions, but I don't see any in the chat. I did hear a ping, so.
Maybe
otherwise, we will win some time back. So, are there any other questions or things people want to know about this introduction? If not, there is a very good stairway to extended events. It is a bit old, but it's still very relatable. On SQL Server Central, stairway to extended events. And here, one of the 2 people who are really into the extended events, so Grant Fritzi and Erwin Stellato, and Erwin Stellato has written this article in 2015 already. Oh, bummer. Yeah, my internet, the Wi-Fi is down, not presenting anymore. No, at least I don't have the link, but yeah, my Google did work. So Steve Jones needs to fix this. Yeah, for now, thank you for attending this session. Thanks Redgate for helping it. Thank you Ben and William for supporting this. And thank you all for listening.